Ryan Faircloth here with Junk Clean Dumpster Rental of Chattanooga, Tennessee. I've got Irwin Koplan, okay, with JJK
Security and Investigations.
Security and Investigations, and you were on Small Town Security TV show, the reality TV show.
That's correct.
So, how'd you get started in security? Can you tell us that?
Yeah, my previous business was office machines.
Yeah.
I got into office in 1970. Well, a little before then, but yeah. I took on a partner and we started Copy Consultants Company in 1970. And about every machine I sold was a copier in those days. So, make a long story short, I built that business. He sat on his rear. Mainly he was the administrator, yeah. And I was out doing the marketing and working 16, 17 hours a day on some days.
Driving around?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
selling?
Selling. If I had a church that met at 8 o'clock,
yeah, and
they wanted me to demonstrate the machine to the entire congregation, then I had to be there at 8 o'clock at night, finishing up around 9:30. And if that was up in Dayton, Tennessee, then it was probably 10:30, 11 before I got home.
Oh.
So anyway, after several years of being successful there, I began to phase it out because my wife, at the time, she started this security company. The JJK stands for Joan Jacqueline Koplan.
Okay.
We spell Koplan with a K. And she always wanted law enforcement. She loved it, and she worked for a little while as a security guard. And then she somehow got into the police academy and graduated police academy, and she was a certified police officer. Her first job was Varnell, Georgia, and just north of Dalton. Mm-hmm. It's a little community.
And she was a police officer?
Yeah, she joined the police. She was one of the original officers of the Varnell Police Department.
Okay.
They were always serviced through the Whitfield County Sheriff's Department prior to that, but right. Then that's when they formed their own police department, the city of Varnell. Well, she was really happy over that. They weren't paying her hardly anything, but they did give her a squad car, a police car. So one of her first traffic stops was the mayor of Varnell.
The mayor of Varnell.
And she was by the book.
Yeah.
My wife, may she rest in peace, she passed away 3 years ago. Mm-hmm. But we were married 48 years.
48
at the time
years.
She died, yeah. She didn't cut the mayor any slack, so that didn't go well with the city council. But she put a lot of money in that little town's coffers,
yeah.
With court costs and fees, because she made a lot of arrests, mostly traffic stops. Well, along came one of the council members, speeding or drinking or whatever, as they do in Varnell.
Yeah.
She pulled him over, gave him a ticket, and wouldn't back down. So next city council meeting, they said, we've had enough of her. She's too good.
Yeah,
too good. Or
yeah.
She doesn't know how we really operate, if you know what I mean.
Right, yeah, right.
Yeah. She doesn't know how to look the other way.
Yeah.
Well, so she said, to hell with them, I'm just going to start my own security company.
Right.
And starting your own security company in the state of Georgia is not easy because you got so darn many licenses, so many tests. You got to have you got to have so much, it's almost you want to give up.
Yeah.
But she endured. She had to get a bond, she had to get workers' comp, she had to get liability, she had to get an agency. I said, Joan, you got about as much chance of a snowball in hell of going into the security business.
Yeah.
But when the good Lord made the mold for my wife, he threw it away because there'll never be another one like Joan Koplan. Right. Pardon me.
Oh, that's fine.
But anyway, she started JJK Security, and then by that time I was pretty well tired of hauling these 200 and 300 pound copies around with
Yeah.
my bad back. So I phased out. I let each of my customers know that I'm going to be getting out of the business. I didn't sell, I just got out because I was joining up with my wife.
Yeah.
And so I helped her get the business started. Started with 0 accounts, no accounts. And I went out and built it over the next year, 2 or 3, to a fairly sizable company. We made, paid our bills.
Yeah.
So then we started getting calls for private investigations. Remember, at that time, the investigations weren't part of our legal name. It was just JJK Security.
Okay.
But somehow people would think, that we do investigations. So one day, as she always did, she says, "Why don't we just get into private investigating?" I said, "Who? We don't have an investigator." She says, "You," meaning me.
You. Yeah.
Well,
She's telling you
I
you're
rarely
gonna
ever
do
argued
this.
with her.
Yeah.
If she wants me to be an investigator, fine.
Right. She's gonna kick you out of the house if you don't.
That's right, exactly. So she went through all the legal, the certifications and everything. She became a state certified instructor
Oh wow.
to teach the course.
Yeah.
So naturally, she wasn't going to fail me, but then we did have others that followed me that joined our firm as private investigators.
Right.
But they just didn't make it, and I ended up as the only one. So I had as I look back on it, I'll put it this way. I think, was that me, really me, that got up at 3 in the morning and drove over to the mountains around Ellijay with my ghillie suit on, my camera in hand,
Yeah.
tiptoeing through the woods to get a shot of this gal that was supposed to be slipping out of her house at
Oh wow.
3:30 or 4 in the morning.
Yeah.
But I did.
You did that.
I
Yeah.
did that.
Yeah.
And I could go on and on and on. And man, I was really a successful investigator.
Wow. That's,
I went to court many times on behalf of my client, and I won every case.
wow. Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I can't do it anymore because I certainly don't run as fast as I used to.
Did you ever have to run from any deals?
Yeah.
Did you?
That's called being found.
Being found?
I got found a few
Yeah.
times, and one was in Villanelle, Georgia. This man, and it must have been his wife or girlfriend, on a state, that's Highway 136, I believe, that goes through there, state highway. They tried to hem me in my car. I was sitting in my car.
Yeah.
I had just left their property with and I said, "Uh-oh, this doesn't look good."
Yeah.
One of them parked kind of the way you got the dumpster here and the truck here. They left me. I was in my Buick. I had a Buick wagon. It was a fast car, but it wasn't anything special. It wasn't souped up. They left me about, I don't know how I didn't scrape the paint off of that car going through the angle. I hit about 110 miles an hour and finally lost them. They followed me.
Yeah.
They wanted, and I knew they had a weapon in the seat. I
Right.
could tell. I could practically see through the door the way they.
Yeah.
So that was just one. I could go on. We could sit here for 3 hours if you wanted to hear them all. They're all interesting.
So they tried the VUN?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And they were determined to find out what I had on my camera
Gotcha.
or what I'm doing there.
Yeah.
But it happened to be on state property because this was right on. If any other cars had come, they wouldn't have been able to get by.
Right.
Unless they went way around on the shoulder, maybe. There wasn't any traffic that day, but I outran them.
Outran them in the wagon.
In the wagon,
Yeah.
yeah. I headed back east toward Calhoun.
Yeah. So did you get what you went for though?
Yeah.
Did you?
Well, the thing is, I had an investigator who was still in the woods behind their house, so I had to wait an hour or two hoping that they would just say, we're not going to catch him.
Right.
I had to go back, and sure enough, he was waiting right on the side of the road, in the woods.
Okay.
He jumped, came barreling out of the woods, jumped in the car, and then, because I couldn't, I'm not going to.
Yeah.
I couldn't leave him.
Right. Oh yeah, you can't leave him. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what got you on the? How'd you get on the show, reality show?
Well, after a while, we had changed our name to JJK Security and Investigations by that time. But we had people coming in the office, our own employees. We had probably 30 to 40 guards at that time.
Okay.
And in those days, they would come get their paycheck or come with their guard reports or whatever business. So they were always in the office. And I had salespeople that would come in. You know, we used to rent our uniforms from this firm, and they would bring us the clean uniforms, pick up the dirty ones. And everybody, because we didn't change our demeanor or the way we do business, everybody would hang around and say, you guys need a reality show.
Yeah.
And any visitor would, and I say, well, I'm not going to charge you for the entertainment. You can stay as long as you want, but we're not ready for. So we kept hearing that. So my wife, Joan, she made a call to Hollywood, to this agency that looks for talent.
Okay.
And talked to them, and they didn't seem interested. You know, it's like, okay, send us what you got. Send a video to us. We'll look at it, and we'll get back to you.
Right.
You know, you've heard that. We'll get back to you.
Yeah.
Well, it seems like forever went by, and so we got a call one day from them. And they said, you know, we don't have much of a need for this, but we're going to shop it around. That means they did find some interest.
Right.
In the video that we sent. It was a video. We hired him, like Cameron, to come in and spend 2 hours in the office just filming our normal everyday routine.
Okay.
And that was the one we sent to Hollywood.
Right.
So time went by, and I'm trying to remember, you know, it's been a few years.
Yeah.
What happened is then we get another call from Left Right Productions out of New York City. And they said, we are going to come down. We're bringing a camera crew down. We want to spend a day or two with you. So, man, we were overjoyed. This is looking good, you know. And so, sure enough, they come down. They came down. It was right after the tornado hit. In fact, it was the next day. Ringo, police still had the whole town of Ringo cordoned off.
Right.
Well, you couldn't even get in.
Yeah.
But since they recognized this national, you know, this production company coming down, they figure, well, this might help our city, some pictures. So anyway, they let us in. And I didn't think our building, which is a block from the courthouse, had a chance of a snowball in hell of even being there, because there was so much devastation all around it.
Yeah, I remember that, yeah.
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 So by the grace of God, our building wasn't damaged. And the one right behind us, 20 feet behind us, half of it got destroyed. Cottage treasures there.
Okay.
So that was a real blessing.
Yeah.
All right. So anyway, from that point on, they started filming. It was called an unscripted reality show. I think they packed up and came back. They didn't give us a definite at that point. They filmed a day or two, went back to New York, and all of a sudden, about 3 or 4 weeks later, we see this gigantic Cadillac limousine. It couldn't hardly make the turn to turn into our driveway. And the crew in that car got out with boxes of champagne and all this fancy New York delicatessen and food.
Now, was this at your office or here?
No, this was at the office.
At your office?
Yeah,
okay.
we were on 85 West Street.
Okay.
And they said, congratulations, AMC. Now, this is American Movie Classics.
Right.
This is no schlock network.
Yeah.
They're big, real big. they bought your show.
Oh, wow.
And so from that point on, I mean, we did celebrate.
Yeah.
And anyway, that's how the small towns, they wouldn't let us use our regular name.
Gotcha.
They picked the name Small Town
Okay.
Security.
Yeah.
I don't know if AMC picked it or Left Right Productions.
Okay.
Left Right Productions did all of the filming.
Okay.
And most of the directing, but again, it was I never did have a script in my hand. Nobody did.
Yeah.
We had 5 members of the cast: me, my wife, Brian Taylor, who had to move. It was an episode. They were all on the show, but there were 5 of us mainly. Brian was my office manager. I want to say Denise, but I'll say Dennis.
Okay.
Was my Dennis Starr was my operations manager, and then Krista Stevens was the secretary. And
Yeah. So did you ever take them in the woods with you
uh,
to do a PI?
yeah, well, they kind of faked it with me on an
Okay.
episode. It really wasn't a case,
Okay.
but I acted like it was one.
Right. Gotcha. Just to
And,
get a shot.
And then, all right, so that began the first of 3 seasons, 8 episodes each. And we, oh God, we could take another 3 or 4 hours.
Right.
I could tell you about everything. One of the most interesting is a woman from Indiana called me at the office and says, Irwin, do you know you got a hole in your underwear? I'm thinking, how did she see? And then I remembered they filmed us at a campground, kind of a KOA kind of thing over on the backside of Lookout Mountain near Rising Fawn.
Yeah.
And we had a hot tub there in the cabin. And I jumped out of there. I was in that with just my briefs on.
Yeah.
I jumped out, and there was one of these Indian, I can't remember what they're called. Anyway, Dennis had built one of these where you heat the rocks.
Okay.
Build a fire, heat the rocks, and then you put them inside this tent-like thing. This is from, Indian.
Right. Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. And that creates like a steam room. So I
yeah.
jumped out of the hot tub. I didn't know I was going to have to do this. And I ran about 10 feet and dove into that tent. So she noticed, and sure enough, I got back, I don't know, I remembered what I had on, and sure enough, there's a hole this big on my right butt cheek.
That's funny.
So these are just things that you wouldn't believe.
So that was on the show?
That was on the show, yeah.
Okay. What?
Wait, no, I mean, her call to me wasn't, but
her
it showed me me getting out of that hot tub and running, because it was about 20 degrees outside.
Right.
And it showed that.
Anything funny ever happened during your investigations or security? Any like one moment spots that was just hilarious? Maybe throwing someone on the ground or something.
Yes, absolutely. Back in those days, mostly Mexicans, the Hispanics in Dalton, would use us for every time they had a wedding or any kind of party. And they used to bring the big entertainers out of Mexico for a night or two in Dalton. They had their own building back then, stage, to perform for the Dalton Hispanics. Well, we have 4 guards there, and the Mexicans love beer.
Oh yeah.
They get soused on beer. Every event they have, whether it be a wedding or something to celebrate, or one of these events where they bring. So one of my guards, and he was one of my investigators, but he worked as a guard when we were short-handed. Dale Niles, may he rest in peace. He passed away young. Great guy, great. Anyway, Dale was big. He was 6'6", 6'7", almost, I don't know, about 280. but he was an airline pilot before he came to Ringo.
Oh, okay.
Up in the New England area, New
Yeah.
Hampshire,
Yeah.
Vermont. But he married a Ringo girl, so that's why he called and said, I'd like
Okay.
to apply with your company.
Yeah.
So I'm going to have to get up on this one.
Okay.
They had one of those big they were the equivalent of Elvis Presley coming to Dalton.
Yeah.
That's the scale if you want to compare.
Okay.
It was one of the top Mexican entertainers, singer. Beer was going everywhere. So Dale, they kept spraying him with beer.
Oh, they spraying him with your security
well,
guy.
I got a little on me too. They
Yeah.
they get soused. I mean,
Yeah.
they get pretty drunk.
Yeah.
Dale got tired of it. And you know, Mexicans are generally not very big.
Yeah.
You know, they average about, what, 5'8",
Yeah.
5'7", small guys. So on the last time he got sprayed, he said, I've had it. And he goes over and he grabs one who probably didn't know what was going on. He grabbed him like this,
Right.
picked him off the ground. His feet were about 3 feet above the ground. That's how big he was. He went over and grabbed another one. Same thing, picked him up. So he had 2 Mexicans in his hands. He went over to the emergency door of the club there, kicked it open, and he literally flung. He flung those guys in the air.
Yeah.
And they hit the ground and probably still didn't realize how they got
going
there. And so that was probably I'll never forget that experience.
Yeah.
That really was.
get sprayed
I got
anymore.
plenty of them, but
Yeah. He didn't get sprayed anymore that night.
you know, I don't remember. I'll be honest with you. Probably not.
Yeah.
Because word probably got around pretty quick.
Right.
Yeah.
So you do process serving, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
We, as a member of NAPS, and that was the best $75 investment I ever made. Dale, who we just talked about, Dale Niles, he said, Irwin, why don't you get into this project? Why don't you join NAPS and maybe give it a try? I said, how much is? He said $75. I said, I'll never. No, I'm not going to join a firm. I've never done process service before.
Okay.
Well, he convinced me to go ahead and join. They're located in Portland, Oregon. But they got 800 number, and it's like you can call them. It's like they're next door. But anyway, I joined, and so they have a network of the courts and attorneys all over the country, and Canada, and the Caribbean, and so by joining, that gave me an attorney in North Dakota could say, I need a serve in Ringo, Georgia.
Okay.
So he calls us, and yeah, we can handle that, or Dalton. I covered about 20 counties around Catoosa. So yeah, and so that began a sideline business.
Gotcha.
And I got a lot of stories to tell you there too, but
Yeah. So you're still doing that today, right?
yeah.
Okay.
Now I have a man that pretty well heads it up.
Okay.
I don't get out and do. I
Gotcha.
will when we're really low, you know, when we're got more than he can handle.
So Irwin, tell me about your golf game, because I saw a clip of that.
Well, a golfer, as you know, I'm not.
Okay.
I'm not. But they wanted me. They did want, for some reason, they insisted
Yeah.
on a scene of me trying to learn to play golf.
Learn to play golf.
Learn to play.
Yeah.
Well, I couldn't hit the ball. I got frustrated. So that's why I don't play golf.
Yeah.
I get too frustrated.
You're frustrated.
I can't. I don't have the temperament to learn for the game.
Right.
So anyway, so they had me out of this little golf course. I didn't even know it existed. It's down around Flintstone.
Okay.
If I remember, it's down there, and I didn't know there was a guy. I think it's a 9-hole course.
Okay.
So they wanted to film me hitting the golf ball
Yeah.
that day.
Yeah, I picked up some new language while watching that clip.
Yeah. But anyway, I got up there and I couldn't. There was a big ant pile right beside the golf ball.
Oh, wow.
So every time I took a swing, I'd miss the ball, but the ants would go flying. So I did that a couple of times. Still, the ball's still sitting there, and I thought I heard something. And I leaned down, and the ants were talking. They said, "You know, if we're going to survive this thing, we better get on the ball." So anyway, that's. They never asked me for any more filming of me playing golf before. Right.
Okay. So how'd you come across our company?
Well, I didn't. I had a list.
Yeah.
Finally, it took a while to even get a list of about 6 companies that claim they're in the dumpster business.
Yeah. They claim.
They claim, right. Yeah. Well, it took me 2, partially 3rd day to get either an answer. And most I didn't get an answer. I just kept calling back on these. Finally, the ones I did get on the phone with. First one, we don't have service in Georgia.
Okay.
And I don't know if they were in Chattanooga. I guess most of them were in Chattanooga.
Yeah.
They wouldn't say that to me if they were in Georgia. It must have been Chattanooga or Cleveland.
Right.
So we don't do business in Georgia. And this is the honest to God truth. The second one I was able to get somebody on the phone with. Says, where are you? I said, I'm in Woodgate, just right off I-75. Well, we can't, do you have any alternative addresses to get to 641? I said, yeah, but we're right off the interstate. He said, well, we don't use the interstate because it's so congested and it's so hot that we just don't want our driver to sit there in traffic.
Wow.
And I'm thinking, well, I got an alternate address, and then he never even answered to that. Okay. I said, thank you. Boom.
Yeah.
And then 1 or 2 others that I finally got in touch with, didn't have a dumpster, wouldn't have one. They couldn't even tell me when they could get one here.
Right.
And then I happened to call a firm called Junk Clean.
Yeah.
The most, I wish I had called you first.
Right.
I really do.
Yeah.
I think maybe I spoke to you first. I'm trying to remember, but it was compared to all these other problems I was having. Mm-hmm. You were a blessing.
Yeah. I appreciate that.
And then we, the one thing in your on your telephone on the recording, I believe it is, because it says flat rate, and that caught my eye.
Yeah, flat rate.
Yeah, the flat rate, just the 2 words.
Yeah.
So sure enough, when we, when I spoke to you, and I said,
bring it.
Bring it. You said you could either, if I remember, bring it that day or the next day.
The next day, I think, yeah.
Which I thought was amazing,
yeah.
The next day. Mm-hmm. And so sure enough, we got together and, we made a deal.
Now, we have a very strange driver. What do you think about him, Jeff?
Jeff is one of the nicest guy you could ever meet, particularly if you're meeting him for the first time.
Right.
I'm assuming he's always a nice guy,
Yeah.
but that solidified the deal right there.
Yeah.
I mean, he just, and we knew a lot of the same people.
Yeah.
And so he was informative. He was telling me about a former competitor you had years ago who's not even in the business anymore.
Yeah.
I'm not going to mention any names,
Okay.
but he knows what I'm talking about. And because I'll tell you why I knew him. AMC, or small Left-Right Productions, used him to clean out one of my storage units down the street here.
Okay.
That all you need is self-storage.
Uh-huh.
I had stuff in there that I didn't need anymore, so
yeah.
They hired him, not me.
Gotcha.
But I understand he's no longer in the business now. But anyway, Jeff's he's a great guy.
Yeah.
I mean, he has a great personality, and he's really an asset to your company.
Yeah. 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 He likes to, on his off time, he likes to fish a lot. I don't know if you like to fish, but he's a big time fisherman.
I had a brother that liked fishing. I never did fish. I used to go with people that did fish.
Yeah.
Just to go get out.
Just to get out.
Get in the boat.
Yeah.
But I didn't ever actually fish.
Right.
Also, Jeff was a big fan of the show, and as we talked that first day, I must have said something, or he must have recognized me. Most people come up to me, I know you, I know you. Oh yeah, you had a reality show.
Yeah,
You know, so
that's what he told me. Yeah.
And I get calls even today, still from people around the country that just call and want to talk to me.
Right.
But yeah, so Jeff's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Irwin, how do people get a hold of you for the security and your business?
And we are taking applications as we speak now. We're planning on growing this year, this next 12 months.
So you need some new guys.
We need need to hire. Of course, it involves background checks and a good interview, references.
Okay.
I don't hire guards anymore that can actually stand up, lean against the wall, and go to sleep standing. I don't do that.
Yeah, gotcha.
So that was years ago.
Okay.
But anyway, I've got two numbers. The main office number is 706-937-8889.
Okay.
Or you can call me on my cell phone. I'm going to give you two cell numbers.
Okay.
My number is 423-316-7598, and my chief operations officer, her name is Cynthia Walchuk, Wolchuk. She can be reached at 202-440-0536.
Okay.
And that'll get us.
Yeah.
One of us.
Well, Irwin, I appreciate you talking with us and renting a dumpster from us.
Well,
and telling us your story, and I think it's a great story, and I wish you many years of success.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
We need it. It's gotten competitive
Has
lately.
it? Yeah.
So I appreciate your good wishes.
Well, I thank you for renting a dumpster. I think it's great.
Oh, yeah, and if I ever need another one,
Yeah.
or I know of anybody that does, I'm going to be sure they call you.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah.